Hello, everyone, and welcome to On the Move, a show where we share transportation sales and marketing success stories. I am Jennifer Karpus Romaine, Executive Director of the Transportation Marketing and Sales Association, which is a trade nonprofit educating and connecting marketing and sales professionals inside transportation and logistics. And today on the show, I'm excited to have Lindsey Trent, President and co-founder at Next Generation and Trucking Association. Hello, Lindsey. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm great and so glad to be here with you.
So excited to have you on the show and to sit down and get to talk to you. So for those of you who may not know you yet, tell us a little bit about your role with Next Generation in trucking and how you found your way into the industry.
So I've been in the industry about 14 years and I got a job. I live in Louisville, Kentucky. I didn't know anything about the trucking industry and I got a job doing sales. I had a sales background and it was driver staffing. And I fell in love with the trucking industry because the people are just so awesome. And two, the industry hits every industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
One day you might be at a granite distributor. The next day you're at a food distributor. Then you're at a manufacturer. It was just so cool to me to be able to get to see so much stuff within one industry. And during that time, it was always a conversation of the driver shortage, the aging workforce. Young people don't know anything about the industry, and we need, we need drivers. And so it always got me having conversations and what are we doing as an industry to solve the problem. And at that time, I started serving on the board of directors for the Kentucky Trucking Association. We helped a community college start their CDL program. And then I went to work for Ryder. And at Ryder, we had the same issues, but we also needed diesel technicians. And at that time, I helped a high school start their diesel tech program. So I really started getting involved in workforce development and seeing this solution that we could do as an industry if we worked with schools in helping start these programs and help strengthen these programs for career technical education. And then I heard about a guy that started a trucking program, and that was it. It was over. We started the Next Generation in Trucking Association to really put an emphasis on what we could do as an industry to help usher in the next generation of talent and promote trucking as a positive career choice.
I love that journey, and I think it's so important. I think part of it is just the knowledge and know-how. One of the things I love about this industry is I feel like there really is a place for everybody,
Right.
And that's so cool, and not what you would think from like the trucking industry. Like for me, I was always more on the creative side of things. I was a journalist, then a marketer, but I really gravitated to the more like industry-based places because what I was writing mattered more to people's everyday life. Like writing for a B2B for like a tire company, it was where I started in the industry. And then obviously I found myself in transportation here. But the education, the resources, all that stuff, the marketing, it just matters more to everyday life than if you're writing for like a bigger publication that's more mainstream. People need those resources. And so on the other side, so for me, that's what I always tell people, like, oh, don't forget that there's these industrial spaces that you might think it's just one thing, but it really houses everything. And like you said, this industry touches every other one. And so you really do get a wide scope of the world in that way, which is really cool. I know you touched on this a little bit, but do you want to explain a little bit more about the exact gaps you were trying to fill when you guys started Next Generation in trucking?
Yeah, well, I can kind of tell you 4 of our main pillars, and that's really what we've developed into because we started as a all volunteer group grassroots movement. And when we launched, we didn't have any paid positions. We just had a group of people passionate about this mission and knowing that it was important for us as an industry to start developing young people and putting an emphasis on workforce development. And so where we are today, where we've really landed as our 4 pillars is one, really just that promoting the trucking industry as a positive career choice. And so we work with a lot of student organizations and organizations that influence school counselors, teachers, administrators, and really promote the trucking industry. So for instance, we're at FFA, Future Farmers of America, every year. They've got 70,000 plus students that attend this national convention. We've got a driving simulator, VR headsets where you can change the oil in a truck, change the tire in a truck. It's really about early talent development and really helping a young person or helping somebody who influences young people in getting them knowledgeable about careers in the trucking industry. Like you had mentioned, it's not just about being a driver or a technician, but we're involved with groups like the Technology Student Association. And this group helps establish competitions for IT, kids who want to be IT, in IT, or kids who want to be engineers. And we talk to these students and we say, hey, we need engineers to make these trucks better. We always have a truck with us on the tables if we can't have a real truck in person. And so we're trying to influence all the students that are interested in whatever career choice they are. A new one that we're going to be a part of this year is the Future Business Leaders of America, and they have a supply chain competition. And so we're excited to be judges at this supply chain competition and promote careers that affect the supply chain. So that's pillar number 1, right? Really just trying to make a name for ourselves as an industry. And I just have to tell you, when I went to the American School Counselors Conference for the first time, and the Mineral and Gem Society was there with a table promoting their careers, I thought to myself, if the Mineral and Gem Society is at this conference, trucking needs to be represented at this conference, right? And so those are the things that we're doing. We are just branding the industry as a great career, as something to consider. And 2, we work with schools and help them establish training programs, or if they already have one for in our 4 verticals, then we help make them stronger. And those are CDL programs, and really an emphasis is on high schools. A lot of times that's working with the community college or a private school, but it is supply chain programs and supply chain management programs, which is more on the business and marketing side, CDL programs, and diesel tech programs. And so we're working with schools all across the country to say, hey, you've got, maybe you have a $5 million grant and you're going to start some new programs, or you're going to have a new building. We want those to be transportation programs because they can choose HVAC, plumbing, culinary arts, which are all good, but we want them to start trucking programs, right? And then the third thing that we do is connect employers. So it's connecting today's employers with tomorrow's workforce. So bridging that gap between industry and education, and helping employers get more involved in education, whether that's volunteering, being at a career fair for students, and just introducing young people to careers. And we work with legislative updates, trying to get things like the Drive Safe Act passed. We have a lot of resources that we've created for schools and for employers to be able to download, brand, and take to these career fairs. And then lastly, celebrating achievements across trucking. So we've got a Student of the Month program. We have a Next Top Talent program, which is drivers and technicians that are under 30 that companies can nominate that are doing an amazing job and they want to recognize. And then also we've got something that we are getting ready to drop again this year. This is our second year for a Career Catalyst. And this are companies that are doing a great job providing career pathways for young people to come into the industry in whatever role that is, as well as maybe companies that are really involved in their local school district and supporting their schools programs and being a guest speaker and taking a truck when they have a career fair. So that is what we've morphed into as an association as our 4 main focuses.
I love that. There's so much depth there and in resources and education. And I do love the focus of, yeah, like you said, if the mineral, first of all, I love mineral and gems.
Me
I would
too.
go to that table
Same.
and be like, teach me everything. Can I transport them? But I think it is good to get out there and explain the different paths that there are. And the next generation won't know if we don't tell them, right? So I think that's exactly where you guys need
Yeah.
to be.
And let me tell you, I shared a slide with you, and I want you to see and why early talent development is so important and what we're trying to preach out there. I think you've got something you can share. Um, so
Mhm.
this was a white paper created by Roundhouse Partners, and it was just so eye-opening to me as something that we need to get out there as a message to employers. So if you are building this early talent pipeline and you take this group of 1,000 students that have raw potential to enter a high demand career like trucking, diesel mechanics, CDL, supply chain and logistics. Okay, you take that 1,000 students. If there's no industry support with those 1,000 students, 250 will consider that as a career choice. 80 will pursue it, and then 25 will enter the workforce. Now, conversely, if you take that same 1,000 students, but there is full industry support, right? They've talked to somebody in trucking, they maybe come to the career fairs, or there's a guest speaker, or they go on a field trip. They're learning about that as a career choice. Now 600 will consider it. 250 will then pursue it, and 80 will enter the workforce. And that goes to show how important it is for us as an industry to start engaging with schools, with students in our own communities, in our own backyards. This isn't just about us building our workforce, but we need to start thinking this as community engagement. How are we connecting people in our community to the good jobs that we have in our communities? And I truly think that trucking and transportation jobs can be that avenue to help get a young person on the right path to success.
I agree. And I think that those stats stand for themselves. Like, if we're there, if we're telling them, they can see the opportunities and they'll take them. And if we're not, then being in the right places and telling them, then they
They're going
won't
to
know
go to
about
the
what we
other
can.
people that were engaged, right? It's an
Yeah,
HVAC company, plumbing.
absolutely.
They're going to go to those companies that were engaged because they were learning about those careers.
Hmm. And what are you seeing right now then when it comes to students, younger professionals entering supply chain and transportation in the workforce?
I'm seeing there's a real interest with young people if you introduce them. We've done a lot of studying on what Gen Z finds appealing about careers in trucking. And one of those things is Gen Z, they want to have a job that matters.
Hmm.
And we learned during COVID that trucking is an essential career. And if we don't have trucks on the road, we don't have our supplies. And so making that a selling point for students, saying, hey, it is an essential role to be to be in trucking. And you're going to be making a difference in everybody's lives if you're in this industry. So we need to have the messaging that connects with students. Also, the trucking industry and the supply chain, we have so many green initiatives out there to make things better, to make our environment better. Gen Z is very concerned about the environment, and we need to let them know, hey, this is what the things that we're doing as a fleet in our operations to make a greener supply chain. And so there's a lot of messaging out there that connects and resonates with students. Another thing is a lot of students, young people, they don't necessarily want to move out of their community. They want to stay in their community, whether it's rural or urban. And we need to share the jobs that we have within our local communities where they can stay, but they can earn an income that's going to be a high pay income. And we know trucking can provide that. We have good jobs that pay really well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm seeing too from the next generations. They really care about, like, especially because obviously I work on the marketing and sales side, but like, I think some companies will be afraid to be like, oh, this is what we do to give back to our community, because they don't want it to look like they're doing it just to talk about it. But you want to promote those things, especially when you're reaching out to the next generation from an employee standpoint, because they care about that. And so if they see that you care, and potentially what you care about is what they care about, they're more inclined to then work for your company, because they know that that is aligned in a way that another company wouldn't be. And those are things that they're factoring into their decisions in a way that previous generations didn't.
It's a big one. And if you can show the next slide that I shared with you, it kind of goes along with what we're talking right here. This was such an interesting ROI consideration when you're allowing your employees to volunteer, because, I'm saying, hey, early talent development is important. You have to help young people understand what your careers are. But as an employer, you think, well, I'm not even going to hire this person maybe for 5 years, maybe for 7 or 8 years. Why should I invest my time or my people's time into early talent development when it's just such a far off reach? But you have to consider that when you let your employees volunteer and do community engagements, you're going to see a 50% turnover reduction when you invest in corporate responsibility. So we can transfer this as getting involved in your local schools and sharing your jobs. That is getting involved in your community, and you're going to have a 13% productivity increase. And then I love this also, that if you are 25 to 30-year-olds, they're more likely to take a job if in the interview it talks about corporate responsibility and volunteer opportunities that you would give your employees. And that's huge. They would rather have that over a higher salary. They want to know what they can do to give back. And so that is something that we need to start thinking about as employers, that it's also how we're investing in our employees to enable them to invest in the next generation.
Absolutely. And this is part of why when we went and redid our award program a few years ago, we started doing that purpose award, because we are then highlighting what people are doing to give back to their communities. And we award both community-based and sustainability-based programs, because what you were saying earlier, like, there's so much like sustainable efforts going on in trucking and other parts of the industry. And that's such a big win. And so as marketing and even as sales, when you're pitching to other, because you can build partnerships on the sales side too with companies that are aligned with your corporate social responsibility as well. If they're deciding between different companies and they see that you're aligned in those missions, that can give you an edge up. So we talk about that stuff all the time. And yes, when we first proposed it, people were like, well, how is purpose related to sales and marketing? Well, it is, because we should be talking about it, and we should, because of course, everything, as you know, when you run an association, has to be aligned to your mission. So but that's part of why we do that, is because we should be talking about it. We should be using it as a differentiator, because people care.
Yes,
people
that's right.
care. And what do companies often misunderstand about attracting and engaging the next generation of talent?
Honestly, it's all about retention. We're seeing, and I hear this from like presidents of companies, that when they're offering internships, apprenticeship programs, when they're hiring right out of college, they're seeing retention with these younger people because they're investing in them, right? They're training them, they're mentoring them, they're putting them through these programs and investing in them as a young person and saying, hey, we want to take you to this level with our company. And so we're seeing higher retention rates with young people than with other, older generations out there. So if you don't have an internship program or an apprenticeship program, you've got to strongly consider this, because it's going to help with your retention for these young people, and they'll stay with you. It's pretty fun to see.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like there's a lot more loyalty then to the company when you're investing sooner. And I think that tracks one of the things that I have seen is that a lot of people, this is when they get out of college, it's their first job. Like their focus in this generation was like, go to school, get the good grades, go to college. So that means two things. Number one, they've never interacted with the like adults that aren't like their parents or like professors. And so that is a life skill that takes time. And then two, that means that every single year for their whole life, they've been promoted because they go up.
Yeah.
Right. And so is it a reasonable expectation to enter the job market thinking you're going to get promoted every year? No. However, if that's your only experience in life, is that you graduate and then you move on, freshman, sophomore, whatever, then they want to know then what they need to do to go to that next step. So I feel like that's part of the disconnect between the generations, because people are like, oh, they feel entitled that they should get a promotion. It's like, no, that's all they've ever known. And you're not telling them what they need to do then to get the promotion. You're not then setting that, hey, these are the skills you need to do. This is the opportunities for you. But if you build it and you show them, then like you said, that retention is going to go up because you're investing your time in them, or at least showing them the path of how they can improve and increase at your own company. Because otherwise, of course, they're going to go somewhere else because they can see then how they can get that promotion or like up to the next level.
That's exactly right.
So one thing I do want to talk to you about that I'm super excited about is this is our second year partnering together on the Future Forward Volunteer Program at Elevate. So this year we're in Denver, June 7th through 9th. And last year we tried it a little bit differently and we let like junior team members, but with your focus on students, and I wanted us to be at TMSA to be a part of that next generation too. We decided to allow supply chain students or students interested in supply chain to volunteer at Elevate. And I have a QR code if people are interested in learning more. It's above Lindsey's head. Normally I'm over there, but there you go. You can scan that QR code. And there you go. We're so excited to partner together. I do think industry association collaboration is so important. Like we all have our own little niches, but we can overlap and we can support each other. My coloring just went really weird. I don't know why. I'm just gonna keep going though, and hopefully it will fix itself. So tell me like your perspective on wanting to partner with TMSA for this program.
Well, it was really fun. So last year you had some volunteers that were a part of this program and they all loved being a part of it. I know. Our marketing person, Bethany with Be Social, she was one of the people in that, and she loves the group. She loved the conference. She learned so much, but she also loved being able to volunteer. But this year we were like, let's do something different. Let's get some actual students that are young in here. No offense, Bethany, right? We know you're still young, but not 18 young. And so we are opening up this scholarship for 2 students to come and be a part of the program. And these are trucking students, right? So they're studying to be in the trucking transportation industry. And they've been studying this over the last year or maybe even 2 years. And we're giving out these scholarships for these 2 young students. And between Next Gen and TMSA, we are supporting a young person, and they're going to be learning. They're not just going to be learning because they're going to go to these breakout sessions and hear these awesome speakers that you guys have at Elevate, but they're going to also be able to network and start forming those relationships. They're going to be volunteering. So they're going to also work on their customer service skills and their problem solving skills. This is like just such a great way and a great opportunity for these young people to learn, and giving them an opportunity to travel to a new city, to be around new people. and they probably just graduated from high school. And so this is what a fun experience. And I think something that they'll never forget and that they're going to just learn so much from.
Yes. And I love the opportunity to give that back and to allow them to get that experience. I have no idea what's going on with my computer right now, but I'm just going to keep rolling. I try to fix it, but I'll do it later, but it's the green bits that are throwing me off right now. But anyways, if you're just listening to this, know that in the middle, my camera just switched to like a very robot.
It is funny you do have green lips. I like it. Hey, why not?
Yeah, if you're watching live, enjoy technology at its finest. But anyways, so I love the opportunity to partner with you to do this and to give this opportunity to students. So super excited. If you want to learn more about the program or get engaged with it, you can scan that QR code. And if you want to join us at Elevate, you can do that as well. You can register and learn more about the show at events.tmsatoday.org. You can scan that QR code now up top there as well. So awesome. Okay. So from your perspective then, what kind of impact can a program like Future Forward or the other things that you guys do for students have on a student or an early career profession, especially when we're talking about competence and career direction? Like we said before, this could be their first job once they start in the market. And so having opportunities like this can really change that confidence booster for students.
Yeah, we see that it really, for a young person, it's all about relationships, and relationships help impact their decisions. And so we hope that they make some good connections at this conference. Maybe if they're in a school program, we want them to make all these great connections. And those are the people that they're probably going to go work for. And maybe they can't be hired at your company at 18 or 19, but maybe when they get some more experience and they're 21 or 22, they can be hired by your company. So the importance in branding your company, and you guys, you get it, right? Your sales and marketing. Branding is so important. And we need to see that companies get it, right? You might not be able to hire them for 3 or 4 years, but when they get to be that age and they remember the relationship they had with you, the conversations they had with you, it makes all the difference in the world. But not just like, branding your company, but the different careers. There's so many careers like we're talking about in trucking, and they might start off doing one job, but they see themselves promoting themselves in their career path, right? And so it's really connecting them to different careers within companies and within the industry.
Absolutely. And how do you think companies and leaders can better support workforce development beyond just recruiting?
Good question. I think investing in school programs. So I think every school that has, so all these high schools, right? They have diesel tech programs, maybe CDL, supply chain. They all have advisory boards. And so being an employer that serves on your local school's advisory board is hugely important. I talked with a trucking company recently, and their high school doesn't have a trucking program, but it has a welding program. And so they want to be involved and to make relationships with these students. So it's getting involved in your local schools, and serving on advisory boards is really another thing that you can do. Or maybe it's just going to your fair and having a booth and talking to everybody about your company that's in the community.
I think those are great ideas, because you can also then start to implement things for your employees that are there as well. Like, okay, like this is what people are caring about. This is how we should shape our, retention programs and all of that kind of information. But like getting out there, being part of the community, understanding, I feel like that's all a huge piece of that. I think that this is leprechauns. We're almost to St. Patrick's Day, and they're making everything in green. Very green, so they're playing a little mischief on me, and I take it. But Okay, one last question for you that I ask everybody who comes on the show. If you could go back in time and advise your younger self anything, and this could be personally or professionally, when would you go back to and what would you say?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think at this point in my life, I would be, if I could go back to my 18-year-old self, I would tell myself, you don't need to spend every dollar you make. You need to save more money. And so I think one of the things that we need to do is really help shape a young person. If they're coming to work for us, why don't you explain your 401k and your benefits package? Maybe help them create a budget, help them, give them tools that they need to be able to not just live for today, but think about their future.
I love this advice. It takes me back to accepting my first job. And I remember like I got the offer. I'm like, yes, I'll take it. And I immediately called my sister and she's like, what is your salary? I'm like,
I don't
I
even
don't
know, but I got a job.
Like, do you get like health insurance? I'm like, I literally know nothing. I got the job. Now I came into the job market for journalism in the middle of a recession. So I literally would have taken any job that was offered to me just to get skills before I could then move on to the next thing. But I was like, I didn't even think to ask a single one of those questions because I had never, and I mean, I've been working since I was 16. So like I had jobs, I had that, but like the professional piece of it, like understanding what a benefit package is or anything like that, nothing. I had no
Yeah.
idea.
And for me, I was always told, hey, if your company gives you 3% for your 401k, make sure you're saving 3%. But really, you should be saving like 10 or 15%. And so I spent all these years thinking I was doing a great job saving 3%. And so that's one of the things that I would change.
Yeah, and I would agree, especially because like early in your career, it's before you typically own a house or
Yeah,
have
you
kids or have all these
it's just
expenses.
going
So
out
you have
on
all
the
this
weekends.
money. Yes, and you want to spend it, but like your older self will be thankful. I think this is a great answer. This might be my favorite of all of the answers because it's applicable to everybody because we're all living in the not making those choices now.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for coming on the
It's
show
always a pleasure
today
to be
and
with
for
you.
you too. And I love always what you guys are doing into the industry and finding a way for us to partner together and do something really cool with Future Forward. So I will see everybody next week. Hopefully my camera isn't affected by leprechauns, but we'll see. Who knows? We'll just see where the wind
And
takes
we're
us at this
excited
point.
for
But
Elevate.
thank you for coming. Yes, we are. Come join us in Denver, June 7th through 9th. You can get more information at events.tmsatoday.org. I will catch everyone next week and I will see you there. Thanks. Lindsay.